116th Hotline.
It's Sadie.
It's Satana. And welcome back to 116th Hotline. If this is your first time here, hello. If this is not your first time here, welcome back. And today's episode, we have a very, very special request from one of our listeners, aka one of you. Thank you so much. If you did or didn't know, we also accept topic requests anytime because this is not only a safe space for us, but for you, the listeners, okay?
Yes.
Why don't you break it down, Sadie?
Let's bring her on out to the table. Okay, so this listener requested for us to talk about canon events in your life, ending a friendship to cut off toxicity, but you still miss them.
That part.
Ooh, okay, let's jump right into that
canon events in your life.
Is that separate, I guess?
I guess, but I really want to touch on that second one. The second one's speaking to me.
Ooh, okay.
I feel like I can speak on that from experience.
I think we all can. I feel like, and just to be clear, we already had an episode about
similar to
that. It was like way earlier episodes.
Early days.
What was it called exactly? Toxic friendships.
Right. But perspectives change.
Absolutely.
We get older. We're almost in our 30s, and maybe we can look at it from a different lens.
I like that. You know what? And just to talk about that, I think, and plus that episode was like 2 years ago?
Yeah.
It was 2 years ago.
We're in year 3, girl.
We're in year 3, babe. So yeah, let's talk about that.
So ending friendship and missing them. Oh, I could speak on that one a lot.
Okay.
And I think I've spoken it maybe once on the podcast already, but yeah, I think I've definitely, since that podcast episode, have probably experienced 2 more friendships like that.
Really?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I think when I think about friendship breakups, but you still miss them, I think you have to think of it in a perspective of, is this friendship serving me well? Mm-hmm. Am I serving the friendship well? You know, gotta look at it from your point of view too, and then make a determination if you want to cut them off. And you know what? It's okay it's normal to miss people after you've either cut them off or after they've cut you off. It's normal. Because especially if you've been friends with this person for a while, it's normal to miss someone that has always been there or that you are used to venting to, if you're used to yapping.
I feel like it would be kind of scary if you don't have any sort of missing or feelings towards like the breakup of it at all. You know? Like it must have not meant nothing to you. But then how could it if you spent so much time with that person before? That's just how I feel.
I think it in a way, it's almost like, I don't know, for me, it sucked to miss them afterwards because you're like, I know they're not good for me. And I know that I don't it's just not a good connection anymore or not a good friendship. Yeah, not a compatible friendship anymore. So I know it doesn't serve me to be friends with you and I know it doesn't serve you to be friends with me. But I think the hard truth and what hurts is that when you're no longer friends with them, you're questioning like, but I miss hanging out with them or like the memories, like everything reminds me of them. But it's like, I remember I used to go to the store with this friend and I remember we used to always yap and I remember we had kids around the same age. Like I miss that.
Oh yeah.
So I think you have to turn to yourself and be like, okay, but is that worth what I went through? Is that worth the mental turmoil of being in that friendship or relationship or whatever,
I was going to say, okay, like it got to the breakup because of something, right?
Right.
So like, I guess it really depends on exactly what caused the breakup to happen, right?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I do agree with that because I feel like it can either be on both sides of the spectrum, right? It could be something really small, minuscule, or something super big that you're just like, I could never foresee myself being friends with you ever again.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. I think I've had friendship breakups on both ends of the spectrum where you're just like, life isn't working out and we just we're not in the same position we were when we were friends. We're not in that same position anymore.
So would you consider yourself still, I mean, I guess not friends anymore, obviously, because you don't talk to this person anymore, but would you still consider yourself cordial with this person? Or like, like if you were to run into this person in the streets, would y'all say acknowledge each other or whatnot?
I would say we would acknowledge each other, but then if we're getting to the nitty gritty, we're probably like, it's just for like face, like showing your face, like saying hi, like, I don't know, but for me, that's just how I am. I'm like, if it was something really big, then I'm just like, I'm gonna act like you're not there, because it's gonna do more for me to mentally be like, oh hi, and then it's like opening the door a little bit, and it's like, I've already healed that. I don't want to open that again.
And that's all growth, girl.
That's how I feel, because I'm like, why am I gonna allow that? Because then I'm gonna be thinking about that night. I talked to them. I said, hello, like, what is our friendship now? Is it
you're questioning? You have questions lingering. Oh, I mean, that's a good perspective.
Yeah, so I'm like, for me, to protect my own mental, I'm just like, no.
And as you have, grown older now, so that's like what your mindset is on.
Yeah, like protecting little Sultana, like,
oh, little Sultana. That's crazy, dude. Like,
how about you? You have any experience?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of it, and like from the last episode of the For Toxic Friendships, like I said, it was like 2 years ago. I really can't remember what my standpoint was on, like, for the episode. I will have to go back and listen to it, but I'm trying to think hard, and I don't feel like I have any like deep, real, like, close friendships at the time that fell off. Like, it's to the point where it fell off where I'm like,
well, I don't think it has to be deep too, just like, I guess, friendships in general that you used to have around that maybe you don't anymore, and you kind of miss the times you had with them. Or
I can't really think of any, to be honest. Well, I'm trying to think, do I have any?
Well, I feel like for you keep friends around for, like, you keep valuable friendships that is gonna last long term.
Yeah, I do. And even like, that, and or maybe like I just try to keep in touch with them, and then I get reciprocated. So yeah, that's essentially what it is. But I think I do have one in my high school years, and I think I talked a little bit about this before too in another episode, but I can just dabble a little bit back up to that. Like, yeah, I had like a friend where we were pretty close growing up, like we had classes together, whatever. We were really, really close, and then as we grew older, we just kind of like drifted apart, and I didn't really understand why. But then, like, I guess later I got the answers from that person, and so I was like, oh, I never knew, I really truly never knew. But I mean, if I'm talking about that situation, then yes, I did have the feelings of missing that person, and the friendships and like the conversations we would have, or like the hangouts and whatnot. And I was wondering why, but I didn't really understand. And taking accountability at the time, I was younger too, so I didn't reach out, right? And I think that's where I was in the wrong for not reaching out, but still wondering, and I knew what was going on. Like, okay, why is this person not talking to me anymore? But yeah, I didn't reach out. So that was my wrongdoing, and I will admit to that. And at the same time, it was like a crazy transition in my life too, like going from high school to college, just trying to be an adult and whatever, and being a toxic relationship at the time. So it was just a lot I had to deal with and handle, with, and I didn't really think too much about it, even though it was on the back of my mind until like a few years later I thought about it, and then that person came back, and then I realized, and I got the answers. I'm like, oh, like, that was my fault. I was not a good friend, so I will admit to that. And so that was my, like, I think that was the only situation I can think about that has to do with like a friendship breakup kind of. And now today, that person and we are cool. I will still consider that person.
Are you guys like close, or just like
not close, acquaintances, like seeing each other here and there. We'll acknowledge each other, like, we'll go.
Is there someone that lives here?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm not gonna guess anymore.
but can you take a guess though?
I'll tell you after this.
Okay. So anyway, but love this person. Okay. We were younger. We kind of fell off, and she told, that person told me the reasons, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I apologize. But in the end, like I said, it was, I could have done better as a friend.
As you're saying that, I'm literally thinking about whenever me and Kiki were close, and like our friendship fell off. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that, because I feel like that's definitely a great example that I don't think I've talked about before.
Yeah.
So basically, me and Kiki, shout outs to my girl.
Hi,
Kiki.
Y'all were like inseparable.
We were like,
when I first knew you, started working with you guys, y'all were inseparable.
Yes. So at first, I was like, we dated the same guy.
Wait, you did?
Yes, Ricky.
What the fuck?
We dated not at the same time, but like we dated the same guy
before. Yeah,
we dated the same.
I totally forgot about that.
Yes, girl.
So it was a vital time.
Like what, high school? Yeah, high school. And we basically grew up together. Like freshman year to like end of senior year. So basically, we worked together at the same spot. We dated the same guy. Obviously, not at the same time, but it was someone that people had told me like, she's your enemy, but I'm like, no, we have more things in common. Yeah.
What?
And I was like, we have more things in common than we think. We went to the same school and everything, and basically me and Kiki, we had such a strong relationship. But, you know, being young and dumb in high school, it's like,
you really
I don't know.
leaned on her. Y'all really leaned on each other, I feel like.
I mean, we smoked together, we drank together, like, I mean, all that, okay? Like, the growing phases, we did together.
I'm telling you, yes.
But something happened, and I can't remember what, but I think it was just immature, kiddish stuff.
Yeah.
And we ended up just, like, pitting against each other because I knew that she was moving to California at the end of senior year, and I was just like, I don't want to be your friend anymore, like, blah blah blah. You know, obviously I think it has stuff to do with my own traumas and things like that, but yeah, that was one friendship where it's like when we were not friends anymore, I was like, damn, I miss her, because you know, we were like glue.
Yes,
we would go work together, we would go to school together, we would do everything together, and now I was like,
yeah, we're carpool to work together and everything, to that type of point. Like, it was like me and Val.
Yeah,
so that was you and Kiki. It was like me and Val, and then I like got pretty close with Val because we started working in the same place and we would do everything together.
Yeah, everything. Like everything. Hey, what are you doing after work? Like, what after work? Let's go do this together. Yeah, do that.
And then like carpooling together, like skipping school together, ditching school together. It's a lot.
It is, and I feel like after our friendship like kind of like went off and I missed her, I was like, this is like, it hurts.
Did you ever reach out?
It hurts. I did end up reaching out, and I ended up apologizing because I was like,
she had already moved though.
You know, it took some time to reflect and all that stuff. Yeah, and then a couple years went by. Then I went back to Fresno for like a wedding or a funeral or something, and then I hung out with her and her sister.
I didn't know that.
I hung out with her and her sister in like this restaurant parking lot or something like that. Yeah. You know, we did go eat. Yeah, we went to go eat at a restaurant or something, and then we were hanging out in the parking lot for like an hour or two.
Really?
Yeah, just like yapping it up,
catching up and all.
Yeah, man, friendship breakups are hard because when you think about the good times that you spent together and the memories and also growth, especially if it's a longtime friend.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, what I think has been brought up by both of us is that sometimes you have to take in accountability your actions.
Yes,
and be able to understand that maybe we aren't the person that's maybe we are the person that had done wrong, and we need to face that and take accountability for that, because sometimes we're in a world where we just think us, when in reality sometimes you are the toxic one.
You have the wrongdoings too.
Yeah.
Like, I admit it, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes in like the other episodes we talked about, if it's your life, yes, you tend to victimize yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a lot of, now that we're a lot older, we we at least have been practicing like accountability. Number one, for most, accountability will go a long way. If you can just put the pride aside, admit your wrongdoings, and admit that, okay, maybe I did do this wrong, maybe it was my fault, I should have done that, like, you know what I'm saying, like, just owning up to it really would go a long way. And if you have a situation with against someone, if you were to say it out loud to them, I think they would really, really appreciate that.
I think also as well, we don't enable each other.
Yes,
and I think that's what's very important.
I used to, though. I'm not gonna lie. I really did used to enable a lot of people.
Because you've been a people pleaser your whole life.
Exactly.
So that's like,
I hated it.
But another thing with that is that when you do find yourself in a friendship breakup or whatever, I think you already know deep down inside why you don't want to be friends with that person, or if you guys fell off. And it's so important to have people around you that don't enable you to basically fall back on your wrongdoings that you used to do. Like, don't allow you to fall back into the bad habits or bad friendships or whatever. It's so important to have people around you that don't enable you, because if they do enable you, you will never grow as a person.
You know what the hardest thing too, though, is like sometimes, like, whenever somebody that's so like dear to you, right? Like, how do you know the difference between enabling and or like support and validation?
I think enabling is more like, in my opinion, I think enabling is like when you see them doing wrong and you know it's bad for them.
Bad for them.
Bad for them or not good for them, and you know, like, hey, if you continue down this path, I already know you're gonna be doomed and you're gonna come back. You know what I mean? Like, I think just taking that into account, like, hey, if you continue down this path, I already know where you're going to end up, and that's not good for you. I don't see that that's good for you. I think that that's the difference between enabling and supporting, because supporting, it's like, yes, queen, like, pop off, like, I know that's great for you, but then enabling is like, oh, have we really thought about what the end result is and what the repercussions are?
Especially if it's like a cycle type of deal that you already know. You've been here before.
Yes,
you've been here before.
Right.
I think that's what I used to deal with like a lot. Mostly back then, what I used to like. Whatever I see people go through, I know it's bad, and if it's already a cycle, I know it's bad. But then at the time, if they really want it, I'm like, okay, like I'm more of like
I can't say no.
I can't say no. Like I use it as a support. Like, okay, well, do what makes you happy. Okay, do what makes you happy. I'll support you no matter what. But now that I'm older and I've seen like the cycle already, I'm like, ooh, are you sure that's what you want to do? Like just and not pushing it in an attacking way or negative way. Like, don't do it. You don't.
It's like you care for them.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people that are like that too, where they come off more like demanding and like don't do it. Like I'm your mother type. I'm not gonna be anybody's mother. You know, like I will be there, but then at the same time, I'm putting it in like the reality side of it, a reality check. Like, you sure you want to do that? Remember what happened last time? Let's think about the, like you said, repercussions. Let's think about the end results, like what it could possibly be. Yeah, it's a 50-50. It might be better, but at the same time, we've been here before. So, you know, the math ain't mathin', sis or bro. So like think about it, and I will try to put it in that tone where it's like, hey, think about it before you do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna stop you because at the end of the day, I can't stop anybody. I'm not your mama. I cannot stop anybody. I'm not your mama, like you said. But then you gotta think about it. You gotta think about it before you take this. If you want my opinion, and the one thing I will always say is, do you want my opinion? Do you want my honest opinion?
Honest opinion, yeah.
If you want my honest opinion, I'll tell you. But if you don't, then hey.
Do what you're already planning to do.
Yes, do what you're already planning to do. But no, I'm trying to think like recently if I've had any of those type of friendships where I'm kind of like I don't really talk to you anymore like that.
I feel like you don't.
I can't really think of any, which is kind of a flex, I would say.
That's true.
I would say so myself, because I like whenever I make friends, I like you said, I think I just tend to have like a really good deep connection with them, where I feel like even if we kind of fell off a little bit, where we don't keep in touch anymore, we still come back around and like, you know, hang out. And I don't have any
like we're so opposite, because I feel like I'm trying to be more I was trying to be a social butterfly like maybe like a year ago, beginning of this year, and I just feel like I realized that I just opened the door too much, that I was like, oh wait, I need to like reframe, because just because you talk to people and want to be social with them, not everybody. For me, it's all about alignment. So it's like, I don't want to no longer be friends with people that I have no shared interests with, like, that are like, I don't know, it's just, it doesn't fit. Like, for example, you know, I'm middle class and like lower middle class, and to be friends with someone that's like super rich and like flaunting like really their name brand stuff, I can't relate to that. Yeah. Like, you want me to drive to your like $500,000 house with my beat up Honda Accord, like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I just don't feel aligning with friends that have no shared interest, or I just can't relate to them. It's not worth my time. And I don't think it's worth my time and to be for them either, because it's like, why are you, like, we have nothing in common. Yeah, exactly. So I think just being mindful of who you're friends with, that's what, like, I think you're really good at, is like, you have friends that are like long term. That you guys can both give value, you know. Value.
Yes, I agree.
What was the other thing that she asked?
Okay, so
she said critical
canon events in life, in your life. So as in like big moments in your life, moments. Like changing big
canon events in your life.
Yeah. So I'm assuming kind of like here, so kind of like just like, what are some big events in your life that's like life changing? We talked a little bit about in one of our older episodes. I remember recorded it at Valerie's apartment. We talked something about what
canon events.
You said something about critical moments or vital moments that change perspective in life in general. So it's kind of like that, but then we can talk about current ones that has happened to us lately.
Okay. So current canon events that has changed your perspective on life,
or like how it has affected your life.
Okay.
So, I would say a lot of just, I guess, and it really ties back into what we've talked about in the past too, of me turning 30 soon. Like, I literally turned 30 in like a few weeks, and I feel like the build up to me turning 30, it has really, really changed my perspective.
The anticipation.
I'm like, what is it going to be like? Like, I'm thinking about, I am stressed and I'm a little anxious about like, okay, I'm about to be 30, like blah, 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 you know, like, what is life going to look like from now on, right? And I'm like taking things more serious, and like you said, just trying to enjoy like the small intimate moments with like people around me, or, you know, like now that my baby nephew is around, like I'm like just so in love with him, and I'm like thinking about my future, you know, life and babies, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to love my kids so much because I love this baby nephew and like I love your kids, you know. So that's like a big part of it. And then another big part is I have been struggling with this situation that has to do with work kind of for years now, and I just like had to like get over it, and like I had to be successful in it, I guess, to put it in that way. Okay. And I finally got it. You know, yes, it took me forever. And that was like one of like the main stressor in my life for the past like 2-3 years, where I'm just like, okay, this is something in the back of my mind where I just have to like, I have to get to it. But it took me a while. I failed quite a few times, but I kept pushing and pushing. And what's the word?
It taught you to be resilient.
Yes. Resilient. I never gave up because I knew that was the one thing I really needed left, you know, just to make myself feel full and like successful, right?
Yeah.
So I kept going at it, and then the moment I finally got it, I was like, like it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. It was so crazy, and I was telling Satana too, and Valerie, that man, this happened so perfectly. It really like happened, like it was like a little bit right after my baby nephew was born into the world, and that was the one thing that I was so excited about. So whenever my baby nephew was born, then boom, like that happened too. It was like back to back, like the lining of it, and it was right before the end of the year too. So I'm like, what in the world? Like I really do believe in the universe. Like everything really happened in line, and it happened right on the perfect timing for me, and it was just such a big relief on my part, me about to go into my 30s. So I really truly agree about that whole thing, like where it's like, damn, like everything is like your life is already written out for you, like you said, and it will happen. What is meant for you will not pass you. Like I will forever, you know, be grateful for that, and like just be patient with myself, because at one point I was just like really beaten down on that. I'm like I really like I can't be successful if I don't get this done. Like I can't be fully happy if I go on vacation or whatever. This will always be in the back of my mind. You know, it's something that will always like pull me down. So I can't be fully like myself or like enjoying it to, you know, to an extent. But then ever since this is done, I'm like, wow, like I feel like I can really breathe. I can really enjoy truly. I feel accomplished, you know what I'm saying? So that's like those are like kind of like the few canon events in my life so far that till today, where like I feel recently too, I feel like, ooh, like I feel good. I really do feel good.
That's affected you.
That's affected me. Yeah. What about you?
Oh gosh. I feel like a lot. This past year was a lot for me. Like in 2024 was a lot, and I think obviously one of the canon events probably be like my face for sure. I feel like that's been like like a long term experience, and I often think that we associate bad experiences with like a bad life, but it's like those bad events or experiences are literally canon moments in your life too that mold you into who you are, because it makes you shift your perspective on how you view not only yourself but how you view things in the world that are happening, how you view your expectation of what things were before the event happened and after. And I think it makes you see things in a different light.
Yes, I agree,
because the way that you saw life before, like for example my face, right, the way I saw skincare or like skin before my whole skin thing happened, I was like, it's not a big deal,
like it's whatever,
whatever. But then after my skin thing, I'm like, wait, like I see everything in such a different perspective now. What are the ingredients in that face wash? You know, what am I eating that's contributing to my face being like this? You know, what are the underlying causes? And I just feel like that's definitely one of the big things that happened to me recently was the skin thing, because now I feel like I can do more as like a vehicle of helping other people that are also going through skin stuff, and you know, so that was like be my number one canon event. And then I also think number two is just obviously turning 32 was a huge one, because I feel like it really made me feel like I don't have to give a shit. Like I really feel like I'm not so much careless, but like I can care less about what people think. And now I'm just like, I don't care. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cut people off when I want to cut people off. I will make sure that I'm in a good space mentally,
unapologetically,
yourself. Physically. And you know, another canon event will also be during my 30s is making the determination that no one has control over your life except you. Like that was one of the big ones. It's like you live your life so long for other people that when you get to a point where you figure out that, hey, my life is mine only, no matter what people say, no matter what people want me to do, I am in control of that. Once you understand that, it's so freeing.
You're golden.
It's so freeing.
Yes.
Because you're like, no matter what I do, as long as I am accepting to that, as long as I love it, as long as I care for that, then nothing else matters.
I think a lot of people tend to forget about that because they're so used to being, again,
told
like
what
our
to
last,
do?
yeah, told what to do and controlled, like via our last episode about TikTok. But yeah, like they're so used to that. And I know we talk about this all the time too, like, you know, your job or whatever, but people around you, even if it's like your in-laws or like your family members that are like, wait, like they're judging you on whatever you do, right?
Yeah.
Like it tends to get to you. Yeah, but at the end of the day, like you have been preaching that a lot about like not caring. Like it's your life, you're gonna do what you want. And once you have made the decision to like close it out and to fine tune it out, and you can just focus on what instance on your mind, then you're good.
Well, and I think what people tend to forget is like, who are you really living your life for?
Yeah.
Like my perspective was like, I've been living 20 something years for the ideal of what other people had already paid for me.
Yes.
The idea of what your life is going to be, what the idea of you need to look like this, you need to dress like this. I'm like, I don't care anymore. I'm not going to waste the next like 60, 70, 80 years of my life trying to fit into be someone that I'm not. So like my biggest takeaway is just focus on yourself, like listen to what you want to do, what you want to be, because that will literally change the trajectory of your life by like not caring what people think.
So the other day, it kind of goes on to that. So the other day at work, this just past Friday, it was cold. Okay, it was so windy and cold, and I thought it on my radar said it was gonna be like the warmest day, like 56 or something. But the wind chill made it so cold. So I'm like, okay, let me just dress up. So I wore like a little skirt with thigh high boots. I think it's the one you gave me. It's been a long time. It's just in my closet. I'm like, I feel like dressing up because it was so cold the past few days. I wore like sweatpants and jeans to school. So that day I just decided to dress up. I wore a skirt with a little high heels, booties and everything, and I went to work and everybody's like, wow, why are you dressed so cute today? And before I left my house, I looked in the mirror and I'm like, this is too much. Like because I was kind of uncomfortable because I wasn't used to dressing up. But then, not gonna lie, I really got inspired by you because I was watching all of your videos of you dressing up lately. I'm like, okay, it's so cute. Let me just like, I wanted to feel like we were talking about fashion, you know?
Yes.
I'm like, I wanted to like feel cute. I just wanted to feel cute because the weather's been so bad. So I dressed up and I looked in the mirror right before I left and I'm like, I don't know, this is too much. I almost felt uncomfortable. Like honestly, I almost felt uncomfortable. I'm like, oh my god, what are people gonna say? What are my students gonna think? Like, but then I'm like, you know, whatever, it's cute, I love it, let me just go with it. Yeah. So I went and I got like compliments left to right. They're like, oh my gosh, where are you going? Why are you dressed so cute today? I'm like, I wanted to feel alive. And they're like, you look good. And I'm like, okay, so it turned out to be something great. And then, and of course, it was a cold day too when I had the skirt on. But then, still, regardless, it was really, really cute, and I felt like it really reminded me of you about, and it kind of connects to that well, like about like I don't care what anybody's gonna think. If it makes me feel good, then I'm gonna flaunt it. You know what I'm saying? Yes. And I did, and
so
it was
proud
great.
of you. You need to show me a picture of that.
I will. I know. I took some pictures, but I didn't post it yet. But I'm like, I really want to get back into just like the creativity side too, like you said, to make yourself feel good, whether people, whatever, if people have something to say or not. You know what I mean?
And as you were saying that, I was thinking about the canon events, how this person's asking us to talk about canon events in our life. And I think that no matter if it's good or bad, every event that you go through in your life, you learn something from that. You learn something from each and every event, because we are all such individual people and on individual journeys that what you go through, I'm not going to go through. What I go through, you're not going to go through. So when you're looking at your life as far as events go, don't see it as like good or bad. It's like all of that has a impact and molds you into a specific person. And if you don't like how you are because of these experiences that you've experienced, maybe you need to change your perspective on that. And I think a lot of it is we really thrive and we really are comfortable in the negative. So if you change your perspective on that and maybe take it as a learning lesson, like I went through these crappy events in my life, but hey, I'm in control of how I used to use that experience going forward. You definitely have the power to switch something from negative to positive. It doesn't always have to be bad.
Right. I agree with that. It's like something so simple, like you said, even if it was a bad event and it was horrible, but instead of thinking it like drowning in that, like negative headspace of, okay, this horrible thing happened to me, it's so horrible, like I hate it here, let me just drown in my, negative space or brain or head. But then you can switch the flip, like you said, and think, what can I learn from this? Like, think of that instead, and like, what can I do next time better to better myself, or so that way I can prevent this from happening or whatnot.
Or my perspective, I like is like, I'm in the trenches right now. This is the it. Like when you want to talk about congratulating myself, like when I'm at the highs of the highs, this is what I have to do in order to get there. So I need to just buckle in, put my head down, get to work, do the hard work, have the hard conversations, and get my ass there and get my shit done. Yeah.
And like the stupid saying, not stupid, but it's just so cliche. The only way from now on is up. Like if you're at the bottom, right?
Yeah. If you feel like, damn, this is so, like, I thought I was past this rate. No, honey, you'll get thrown the same situation in different fonts.
Yes, many times. Like even throughout this year, this is the beginning of the year, so, and I know
it's only
January, y'all, and I know for a fact that there's going to be a lot of downs, and it's inevitable. Okay, the bads and the negatives, it's inevitable, but you have to let it come. Kind of like the whole TikTok thing, we knew it was coming, and when it did hit, yes, it was like, all like we all in the trenches and all at once, but then you have to find ways how to cope. I think coping is like, people need to really practice coping a lot more, because coping mechanisms, so that way you can just move along with it and process it. A lot of people don't really know how to process things until they hit, and then you're just hit you hit a brick wall, like you don't know what to do,
and it's almost like you're in freeze mode and you're like, wait, what do I do from here? It's like, you don't need to do much, just take this moment, just
feel the feels.
I always tell my son, I'm like, just take a breath. Like, you don't need to worry about this and that and this and that. It's literally just like, okay, I just need to breathe right now in this moment and do what I'm doing in front of me and get that done. You just have to do baby steps. You don't have to figure out what you want to do 5 years from now. You just need to survive right now, and then we can go from there.
Take a few steps at a time.
Yes, you don't need to have your whole life figured out and your legacy figured out and your whatever. That's like, no, just figure out what's in front of you right now.
Absolutely, that will go a long way. We put
a lot of pressure on ourselves to be.
We really do.
Perfect.
I honestly think it's like what is it called? Toxic productivity.
Yeah, we do.
Expectations, way too much.
Comparisons of these. It's just, I think it's in our nature to always be the best at what we're doing.
The best, yeah.
But it's like, realistically, honey, I'm just trying to survive.
So it's crazy. I've really been, this kind of ties into what we're talking about, right? I see a lot of like that point of view of like, like if you're not first or last in life, I don't really want to push that for like, the humanity species because it's toxic. But then in another point of view of a lot of people in sports, right? Like they take sports very, like for example, Brian's in sport, like if you're not first or last, like that's a very, very high mentality for them where they have to be the best of the best, like Mamba forever, like Kobe Bryant, like all of those, they have that mindset, and that's how you get to be the best, because they grind hard every day for what they want to do. So I'm kind of torn between that. Like I'm like, like
I think yes, but in moderation. Like you can be the best of the best for you, like as long as you're doing your best.
If you okay, ooh,
you know what I mean? Like that. You don't need to compare with other people. Like yes, you can be the best of the best, but make sure that that's the best of your capabilities. Ooh, you know what I mean?
Like that.
Yeah, because we're not all the same.
We're not exactly. Everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses.
Yes.
So if you feel like you can push yourself more, absolutely go for it. If you want to push yourself more in the gym, go for it. But then pay attention and listen to your body. Like if you feel like you're exhausted and you're like, I can just push more even though I'm exhausted, don't do it, because then you can reach your limit to a point where essentially it can really actually affect you in a negative long term. You know what I'm saying? And that's happened to me before, aka my I tore my knee, my meniscus, because I thought I could do it, but my body was trying to tell me that sis, you're not that athletic anymore. And because I wasn't conditioning myself, with my old ass trying to go play with some little kids, but you know what, I could essentially get back to that point if I want to condition myself, and I really do, slowly
keep up at
it, so like I was thinking about that, like how can you differentiate that mentality in this category versus this category, but you just put it into perspective.
Yeah, I think it's just not comparing to other people. I think really comparing amongst yourself within yourself, because I think we're always taught like competition is out, but no, competition is inside.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
Like, like your own awareness, your own what are your strengths, what are your abilities, trying to get better as yourself, I think is a better way of looking at competition versus looking outwards, because I feel like once you look outwards, you're no longer trying to better yourself, you're trying to be like them.
Yes, that's or always making sure that you're better than you're one step ahead of someone, when it's it should really
it should be you
against you, babe. So
because
I agree.
It serves you nothing to try to make your life like others, because you're never going to be them, they're never going to be you, so you might as well just work with what you got.
So with that being said, what are some of last remarks that you have to tell this listener specifically about these?
I'm not sure if they wanted to hear like our specific canon events, because we already had an episode that covered that, but
refer back to it too if you want to hear more into that.
I mean, the audio probably wasn't the best, but like, you know, we did talk about that, and I think to just not take life so seriously is kind of like my last remarks, because you know, whether it be friendship struggles or just trying to figure out how to navigate life after certain canon events in your life, you just have to remember, like, it's not that serious, and it's life is life is an ongoing movie.
Yeah,
like it never stops. You're always learning from what you did today, what you did yesterday, what you're gonna do tomorrow, and just don't take life so seriously, and like take a breather. Like it's that okay serious. Too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's
ever since just now when you were saying that life is like an ongoing movie, like I just kind of got like a glimpse of excitement in my head and in my heart, because I was thinking about the other day. Sorry, now I'm rambling on again, but just real quickly about the other day, whenever I went back to work after winter break, right? And how you and I have been preaching about, like, you know, be thankful, be grateful with what you have. And then I did like that little practice in the morning. I woke up and I'm like, I'm actually thankful that I have a job to go back to after a long break, right? Yeah. And like it changed my whole perspective on like life that day, where I'm thankful, I'm excited to go to work instead of like dragging, like, oh, I gotta go back to work. So I agree with that. Like your life, you should be excited that, you know, life is happening for you, because it's never going to be the same. That's the crazy part. It can be crazy, ugly, crazy, beautiful. Like it can change like within a second, right? Yes, and it's scary, yes, but then at the same time, that's the beauty of life. You know what I mean? So I agree with Satana. Don't take it too serious every single time, because it can really take a toll on you, and that goes along with your friendships too. Like if you have a friendship, you know, not everything has to be deep and, you know, like serious all the time. You have to be able to like joke around with your friends too. Keep it lighthearted. Take things with a grain of salt. Just be mindful and open, and like the canon events, like what we said, you know, whether it's negative or positive, you know, really look into it and make sure it's just, you know, how can you make it better the next time if it is negative, or if it's positive, then celebrate it and, you know, enjoy the moment. And these were our personal, like, you know,
just a little dabbling, because I'm not exactly sure what the listener is looking for,
right?
But I mean, we did touch on it,
right?
And I just hope that you get something out of it, because I think, you know, whether it be just a short podcast episode, or like just something that we're yapping about, we always want to make sure that you're taking something from it,
right?
And if it didn't reach what you were wanting, like, let us know.
Please do.
But we always, you know, we always talk from our own personal experiences. So, I mean, whenever I listen to podcast episodes, I always imagine, okay, my life, how can I apply that to my life? And so I hope that you guys can take something from this too.
Yes, ma'am.
With that being said, let us know how you like this episode. Go listen to our other 2 seasons that we have available right now. And if you're watching on YouTube, we do have older episodes that are just specifically on Spotify and Apple Podcasts when we first were just doing audio. Yes. So if you're like, what? Where have these videos been? We have older episodes. I think it's like 16 episodes that are just audio when we first started.
And disclaimer, the audio was horrible.
It was horrible, but the conversations were really, really good. And I did have somebody ask me, like, did I miss a couple of episodes? I'm like, no, we just didn't start doing video until like episode 16 or 17. So we do have a lot on there. So make sure you guys go check it out. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and all the good things.
Also, just please stay tuned and keep up with our socials, especially Instagram and Facebook stories, because we will be posting whether the episodes will be slightly delayed and or like just a reminder of like what's to come.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in, and thanks to our listener for submitting that.
Yes, question. We always appreciate your submissions and suggestions.
Please do. Anytime, we're open.
We do our best to touch on what you guys want to hear, because it's fun.
Yes, ma'am. Bye.